the sun shines bright and the seeds are sown. Portugal, it's the place to be. Join the community, come and see. Expats Portugal.
Well, welcome. This is going to be a great evening. It is the Portugal reality check, the real pros and cons of living here in Portugal. Surprises, challenges, and choices behind starting a new life abroad. Our panel have all done that. At least 12 months each here in the country, and lots to talk about of their experience, including which online advice was spot on and which was totally off, hidden costs and unexpected savings. It's a bit of an aide-memoire panel. This is what I'm going to be asking you. Bureaucratic headaches and how to avoid them. The reality of the housing market. Healthcare wins and surprises, an important one. Cultural curveballs, have you had any of those? And integration tips. We want to go into that tonight as well. The moments you questioned your decision. I think we've all done that, haven't we? And what made you stay in the end? Because you did. Your biggest regrets and best decisions as well we'll be covering. And what you wish you'd known before you started your move. So thank you very much indeed for being here tonight. Much appreciated. And what I'd like to do with our first question is roll it into an introduction, because we're going to be talking a lot tonight. There's going to be a lot of information. So if in this first round, I can ask you to introduce your household and say where you're from, how long you've been here, and maybe just a little bit about what motivated your move in the first place. So can I go to, this is in no particular order, as I see it on my screen here. Gail, could you introduce your household of the lovely Mills, please?
I'm Mills. I'm
cats, I think.
I'm Gail. I see Mills and Gail. And we've been here 2 years come December, early December, with 4 kitties.
Yes.
And we relocated from the Albuquerque, East Mountain area of New Mexico. And why we came, we thought we needed a reboot, something different. We don't have kids or grandkids, and it was time to explore some things that are different, despite differences and things going on in the US. Really, we needed post-COVID a reboot. And we were looking at Spain, and then we came and visited 9 days in Portugal and was like, oh, wow, we didn't know anything about Portugal. And for me, at least, and I think Mills will put in his own 4 or 5 cents, we were amazed by the friendliness of the Portuguese people and their stories and what they had to share with us, and in every little spot that we visited on our first trip. And then when we decided we've got to come back a year later.
Fantastic. Okay, I'll come back to you because we will be talking about the biggest positives. That sounds like one of them. Mills, a brief intro from you, if you don't mind.
Yes. We did come from New Mexico about 2 years ago, roughly. Getting the pets here was probably more difficult, and one of the strangest bureaucratic nightmares I personally have ever been through.
On the U.S. side.
And I won't bore you with details, but people with
well, we would like to know more. If not now, then certainly later on in the call, for sure. People need to know that info. Yeah.
Yeah, intro. This is intro only. I think the housing market was kind of a surprise that houses cost here on the same order of magnitude as where we came from. We can get into the challenge of my driver's license a little later.
Okay, yes. Yeah. I don't think you're going to be alone in that. But let me just say for the time being then, Gail and Mills, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. And people will learn a lot from you this evening from New Mexico, joining us from the US 2 years ago. Thea in Lisbon, hello, yes. Thank you so much for being here. Could you introduce us to you and your household? Any kitties or dogs?
Yes. Or it's Theresa's out and about. You know, she likes to walk. That's what makes her feel better. So I said, that's fine. I can talk for both of us.
Great.
So Theresa's my wife and myself. And this was about 4 years in the making. We've been living in San Diego. And Theresa and I have been together over 30 years. And we knew way back when that when the time came to retire, we did not want to retire in the US. It's very expensive, and we wanted more quality of life. and Teresa's family's from Mexico. So that was our original plan. But then as time went on, things are changing in Mexico and it's not as safe as it once was. I'm not saying we won't go back and visit friends and all that, but I got to the point that I wouldn't feel safe walking the streets there. So Teresa and I have been on vacation in Europe. And we always thought, oh, it'd be great to be able to move to Europe, but some of the countries were expensive and we really didn't do research. So about 4 years ago, I started researching what is the safest countries in Europe for American expats. And whichever search engine I went into, it was always Portugal at the top and Iceland. And I
Oh,
said,
right.
Iceland is too expensive, I know, and it's too darn cold, and it would cost a lot of money for winter clothes. So I said, let me start researching Portugal. I was looking at everything from safety, cost of living, if they're a democratic country, and how they are with LGBT rights and interracial relationships, because Teresa's Mexican Chinese. So I looked at all of that and I just started doing extensive research. Then I think it was about 2.5, 3 years ago, we decided to make a visit to Portugal for about 2.5 weeks to get a sense of the country and see if this is something we would be happy with. And the hotel we stayed in, the concierge there, he just took us under his wing. He's from Sri Lanka. He's been here a couple years. So we just started going out and about and meeting people. And the one thing that really caught us was how friendly the locals are. And of course, people from other countries. And people were so willing to help you. And I said, wow, this is really wonderful. We really felt good. So then I said, well, how about we start looking at getting our package together and see about applying for a visa. Wait, somebody's talking.
It's all right. I've managed to mute up. I think Jennifer is having a few problems coming through. But
Okay.
we've sorted that out. Don't worry, Thea. That's a fabulous intro. How unlucky Iceland. We got to have you here in Portugal instead. I'm going to come back to you. I think it's a fantastic intro to you and Teresa. And I'll come back to you for the biggest positive and biggest challenge, if I may, in just a moment.
Sure.
Let's go to Debbie. I did have a little bit of a moment there. Debbie said, having internet problems, we'll watch the replay. Different
That was
Debbie.
a different Debbie.
Thank goodness for that. Debbie in Coimbra. I think you should introduce your household here, your beautiful household.
Yes. So this is Dazzle. She's the international dog of mystery. We just returned from a week in Malta. That was her country. We're headed to Germany and Amsterdam at the end of the month. And I plan on buying a car in the next couple of days. So we're going to be going to Spain. So she's going to have 10 countries.
Oh,
so
look at her. She's loving it. She's loving it. And your backstory, where you came from and how long you've been here?
Okay, so I've been here a little less than a year and a half. I'm from the USA. I never answer where I'm from in the USA because people get bored hearing the list. But a little, because I've lived in a lot of places, but a little about, who I am. So when I was 21, I decided I was going to retire early and move to the Caribbean, and I did. And so I was in the Caribbean for a couple of years, and then we moved to Hawaii, and then I had to come back to the mainland. And when I came back to the mainland, like things had really kind of gotten expensive. And I think I was 57 or 58 at the time. And, it was like really hard to find a place to live, but I had always wanted to live in a motorhome. And some of my dear friends they're actually famous RVers with YouTube channels. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do that. So I actually drove around the country. I would stay places for a few months, but I drove around the country in the motorhome with my little girl, and then it just got really expensive. I also got really tired of having a tiny kitchen the size of like a laptop computer. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be on Social Security soon. I can afford to go to another country. And I've been getting International Living Magazine forever. And, those top 10 places for immigrants, I had, researched all those. And then slowly, a couple of years ago, some of the countries kind of fell out of favor with me. Maybe like, news about drug cartels. She's wiggling. Like news about drug cartels and
Thank you,
and
Dazzle.
all that. And I started thinking, well, maybe Europe, well, actually, I'm a former scuba instructor and I was going to go to Belize. And when I found out that to get medical care or veterinary care, I had to get on a plane, I was like, no, that's not going to work. I need to have medical care near me. Of course, beautiful Coimbra in my background. We've got the university medical college here, so that's really great. So anyway, I came overseas for the whole summer in 2023. I didn't even know I was going to move to Portugal, but I came for a month with some friends and I just felt at home. It was the funniest thing. I was like, I feel like I'm at home. And I've been on the move for years and I have settled down. I actually bought just the littlest bit of furniture. I have a furnished apartment, getting ready to buy a car. I mean, I feel at home. It's just such a lovely place. The locals are so kind. Some of my friends I probably have just as many local friends as I do expat friends. And somebody else mentioned safety. So I'm a 70-year-old, I'm divorced woman with no family, and I feel very safe here.
Cool.
I just do. And so that's kind of it. And then I'll answer other questions later.
Debbie and Dazzle, thank you very much indeed. Much appreciated. Let's go to Suzi's household there. Who's that with you, Suzi?
Hello, I'm
thanks for being
Suzi.
here tonight.
Thank you. I'm Suzi, and this is my husband, Rob.
Hey, Rob.
We moved to Portugal a little over a year and a half ago from California, from San Francisco. And we moved here with 2 dogs, which we also have dog stories as well about moving pets from the US to here. And the way that we got here, we were traveling in our RV as well, all over the United States. We did that for about 2.5 years and always had a dream to live abroad. So we did the RV thing first. And then when we got done doing that, we decided to really start exploring moving to Europe. I listened to Expats Portugal webinars for about 1.5 years before we actually moved. So I felt very prepared after every week. I was very faithful. After doing that for 1.5 years, I felt very prepared to move, and we packed up, left California, and could not be happier.
Oh, wonderful. How wonderful. So the 2 of you and 2 dogs, was that right?
That's right.
Excellent. Yeah, and I think we will return. Thanks, Suzi and Rob, to the business of moving pets. I think it's quite a popular theme, and more about this warmth that seems to be a recurring theme already of the Portuguese people and the great welcome you've all had so far. If you thought it's quite US centric, we have Sarah Davey with us as well, who I think might have had a bit of a busy day. Thanks for joining us, Sarah. Much appreciated. A British voice to add to the mix with a UK perspective. How are you doing, Sarah? Where are you?
I'm in my car. I'm doing a Nuno.
Of course you are. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
Although it has maybe a bit of Halloween vibes though.
Yeah, I thought that. Yes, a little bit early, but thank you very much for joining us. Could we have a quick pen portrait of you then? How long you've been here and what motivated your move?
Well, it's difficult to follow Debbie, I must admit, but I would agree with her around feeling the home feeling. That's how it feels to me. I've lived in a few different places in the UK, and it's never felt home. It's just a feeling you have. And from the moment I stepped up the plane last year, I've always referred to Portugal as my home. I came last May. My AIM appointment was the 30th of September. So I really class May as my first day. And so I've been here nearly 18 months. I'd been coming a few years with work. And to be honest, I never intended to move to Portugal. It was never something I thought of. And it was really probably through Expats Portugal and everyone that planted the seed, because a lot of people were moving here, telling me how great it was. Then I started coming to visit, and that's how I fell in love with it. And I thought, I can live here, because there's a lot of places you go on holiday and you do the joke, oh, I could live here, I don't want to go home.
Yes.
But the reality is that you can't often really live there, whereas I do think here you can.
And did.
And did essentially.
Excellent, excellent. Well,
Um,
thanks so much for being here tonight. Much appreciated. And sorry if I am cutting people off a little bit, because we've got a lot to get through, and we'll make sure there's extra time at the end. If you feel like you have been thwarted by me, panel, with anything you want to share, we can do that in the second part, where we're hanging out with the Expats Portugal premium members. But I need to crack on, if I may. Excellent. Thanks again for all of you being here, and for sharing your time with us and your experiences. And thanks for those intros. I need to go back to Gail and Mills, the positives and the challenges, if you don't mind giving us one of those each. I know that's difficult, but could you give us, an upside and a possible downside, pros and cons living here in Portugal?
Compared to the way we made friends in the US. I mean, even our families, they don't, and we've heard this from lots of expats. It's not like they're beating the bush to get here. And so I guess this bigger house we bought with an extra room will be for expats passing through. But we just feel like our neighbors told us, our Portuguese neighbors, we're here from you when we came. We're making more Portuguese neighbors. We now have a Fatima Ureng group that's now about 50 people. We've met maybe 20 of those, and that's since last December. Is a growing group. And we're feeling that through, especially Expats Portugal, which we were members of, or I sort of was, before we became a member. It's been at least 3 years now. And we felt like we were making connections, and many of those have become friends. And we've gotten to meet at the meetups and other people from all over the world. So for me, we feel like we're having community, and we don't have kids or grandkids or anybody. And a lot of people we know have pets, dogs and cats. But I think it was the warmth, as others have said, of the people. And we love Coimbra. We like Lisbon. We want to spend more time in Porto. There's lots of places, and easily explore Europe while we can. We haven't, because we've been caught up with things, making our house more of a home finally. We have a kitchen, and which was a big deal. But Mills, what do you think? What is your...
Have you been given the challenge to do, Mills? We've heard from the positives from Gail there. Are you on the challenges? Because this is pros and cons.
Well, I was going to second the notions before me that you can have Portuguese citizens as friends. All the little films and things I've seen about Portugal was, well, unless you're fluent in Portuguese, you're just not going to have any Portuguese friends.
Yes.
Total BS.
Yep.
Our neighbor down the way from us speaks probably 50% fluidity in English, and he couldn't be more friendly and more sincere in the help that he's offered and his advice. So that was a big positive surprise. You
Wonderful.
want a negative surprise?
Well, a challenge, because we've got a big panel tonight. So a big and obvious challenge for you that you might like to share and educate people with.
Changing the license.
Oh, yes.
Between US and Portugal, it was not quite as easy and automatic as it may have sounded when we first signed up for it. We didn't have any choice. And it's been nightmarish for me. The takeaway is, make sure before you come to Portugal, you go to your local
the IMT
registration and get a new license with a 10-year expiration date, so you don't have any of those issues that I had.
Your DMV, yeah, okay. And people.
But on a good note, we found out the junta, our local junta lady, finally helped him, because Mills did get his license. Yep. And found out in January. He got one a couple days later after we went to IMT in Santarém. And then he got his license a few weeks later, and it was activated like January 30th, and it expired like the 3rd of February, more or less. So he's gone through months of getting it, but the lady at the junta persisted, and he finally has his license. So she helped us.
another Portuguese friend made. Thank you both for the
Yeah,
time
they're
being.
gonna take our flowers.
Yes, definitely. Good idea. Thea, or some olive oil. We'll find out more about that later. Thea, a positive and a challenge, please.
Okay, so like I said, the people are so helpful. I
Mhm.
mean, that is one. The food, the dairy products, I don't have problems with bloatedness. It's, really easy on my stomach. So that's one of the things. And the sweets, I do like sweets, and I notice they don't overload their sweets with all the sugar like we do in the United States. So I like that part. The water is drinkable here. We always use bottled water or really good filter water, even when we were cooking in California to make soup, coffee, whatever. We'd never use tap water. Here, we use tap water and it everything tastes very good. So, I
Very good.
mean, that's we're glad about that.
Yeah.
And as far as the challenge, well, the first challenge was finding not so strong coffee. For us, coffee is really strong. We were trying to find a lighter type of coffee, and we've been here since February 1st. So we have found a couple of coffee roasters that the coffee is very good, but it can be pretty expensive. It's just like a small batch from maybe 16 to 19 euros. So that's our biggest challenge here is the coffee. And then everything is small here. The refrigerators are not big like in California. You load everything up in the refrigerator. You don't have to go shopping for more than a week, and the food lasts, I guess, because all the preservatives we put in our food. Here, the food is very fresh, but the first couple of days we noticed that the food will go bad fast, but it's because we let it sit for a while. And we have to remember, it's not California. They don't put all the preservatives in the food here like we do. So now we learn just buy as we need, just a couple of days, worth. And Continente is just diagonally across from us. So it's not like we have to get on buses or trains to go shopping. We just walk across the street. So that
Very
would be really the biggest
Well,
challenge.
It's the Portuguese way, isn't it? To shop daily rather than once a week or once a month. Something.
That's what I'm
Thank you,
saying.
Thea, for the time being. Debbie, your positive and challenge, if you don't mind.
Well, I could go on and on about the people, and I think that we all know now that the people here are wonderful.
Yeah.
But something I was going to point out, now it depends on where you are, what city or town, but so I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, furnished apartment with 2 balconies and a garage. I pay for it per month, but I used to pay to park my motorhome in the USA. Not everywhere, but a lot of places they're really expensive. And maybe I'd get a picnic table. And so because I did retire young and I've traveled a lot, so I'm one of your less wealthy expats. And it's like I went from houseless, living in a caravan. I went from houseless to middle class in one move. And so I just love having this big apartment. I have people come from the US because I've got the 2 extra bedrooms. I'm really loving it. So far as challenges, the bureaucracy, I could take up the whole rest of the thing, but I had to point something out that most people, they love Portuguese food. People say, oh, you moved to Portugal, the food, I hate it. Ugh. So
I have heard you say this, and I remain surprised to this day. And
it's awful. It's just, I really don't like it. So I've had to learn to cook. I really didn't cook a lot before. And the other thing I'm used to in the US, and of course they're full of preservatives and junk, but I'm used to being able to go, to Publix or, Kroger or whatever and get like frozen Weight Watchers meals and stick them in the, they don't really have convenience foods in the grocery stores that much. So I've had to learn to cook. And of course, my biggest regret, I love Coimbra and we've got lots of sushi, which I love sushi. We've got some Chinese. There's no Thai restaurants here. So if you crave Thai food, Coimbra might not be for you, but I love it here anyway.
You know what? They might just be very well hidden. Let's find out. Let's see what people come up with in the chat for that. But thank you. That's a very interesting downside there for you personally, Debbie. Thank you for that. Let's go to Suzi and Rob. What's the positives and negatives for you there?
You go.
Rob.
Thanks for that.
Well, no, I was just going to try to let you talk. Okay. Positives for sure. We can just reiterate what others have said. Everyone's so friendly, so helpful. We have amazing neighbors. One of our neighbors has a giant vegetable garden, and every week she brings us a bag or bags full of vegetables all summer long. It's amazing. And she's also hooked us up with the guy who delivers the firewood, and the people that come do bulk pickup for garbage. She's just definitely helped us out in a lot of different areas. And I too have been challenged a little bit with the food. I'm not a big seafood person, but I'm getting there. I just keep trying, and I'm getting there.
Oh, well done. Is that why you chose to be so far from the sea? Possibly.
No.
I'll come back to you then, unless you want to add anything now, Rob. Maybe you'll be picking up on some of the later questions here.
No, I can chime in later.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Excellent. Oh, seafood. And Debbie not liking the food at all. Very interesting. Sarah Davey, what about you? Seafood, Portuguese food?
I love seafood. So I love that here because it is more affordable and good quality, and the portion sizes, like in the UK. So you'd get like, I don't know, say you paid €7, you get a big bowl full of loads of prawns. At home, you'd get like 3 prawns. The portion size, it's completely different. Yes. What I like about the food, going back to the fresh food, the taste is so much better. Carrots taste better, tomatoes taste better, and everywhere has, all the small towns everywhere, they have local markets all the time, either every day or like Wednesdays or Saturdays. So you can buy kind of local produce from farmers, and that's really nice. I like that. We don't have that as much in the UK anymore. That's slightly dying out. So that's really nice here.
Yep. You've got some emojis on the screen there for that. We're enjoying that to our audience tonight. So if you want to hit those emoji buttons when you hear things you like or dislike, please feel free to do so. Downsides for you, Sarah?
I just want to quickly say about the upsides. I know people have talked about the people, but I just wanted to say, as a single person moving to Portugal, we all have our own stories. I meet a lot of people that are single that have maybe been through a divorce, separation, maybe they're a widow. Coming to Portugal, it's a big step on your own, and you are super supported by everybody. The people I meet, expats, Portuguese people, through the Expats Portugal meetups and community. So I found it really good, been easy to move and get that support, and I think a lot of people have as well. So if you're coming on your own, please don't worry. There will be, there's lots of us out there like that, but also lots of support as well.
Brilliant.
And negatives, well, like what everyone said as well, it took ages to get my car paperwork. It was almost similar to getting a visa. The other downsides, basically I just gave all the paperwork that I had for my visa. I was just sent over to them everything that I had.
Yes.
The downsides, it's lovely, but you just got to get used to it, is the fact that things close. So restaurants stop serving at 2:30 and then they'll open again for evening. They close over August because they've all gone on holiday. They're not open on a Sunday, or it's a bank holiday. They're not open. That's a strange concept to me in the UK.
But you are getting used to it by the sound of it.
But it is lovely, obviously, for the people that own it, for the workers, that, they're giving that time off. But as I said, it's just about, so you just got to adjust. So when you rock up at a restaurant at like 2:30, 3, you probably might not get any food. If you're in the centre of Lisbon or Porto, that's fine. But further out, rural or other places, Tascas, there's going to be no food.
Holidays. Yeah, national and local holidays. And of course, if you're on a British work contract, you're not going to get all the benefit of those public holidays necessarily, are you? Interesting. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much indeed. Let's go back to Gail and Mills. Let's move on to cost of living and finances now. And I'm going to put a few things together, if I may. If you could just sort of pick up on what takes your fancy in how your actual monthly spending compared with your expectations, and back home, though the comparison with the cost back home, anything that was particularly or unexpectedly high or low, and where have you ended up spending more over here? People will need to know that. So Gail and Mills, let us know.
Give this to Mills since he.
Okay.
okay.
Very
Head of
simple.
finance. Head of finance is taking this one.
The food's a lot cheaper. I'm always astounded at how low our grocery bills are when we have 3-4 sacks of food. It's 69 euros or something ridiculous like that. The restaurants are also good and cheap, inexpensive, I should say. Yeah, the food's kind of bland. So if you have a taste for spice, bring lots of spices with you, which we have done. Let's see, costs. Petrol or diesel is a lot more expensive than
you're used to, yeah.
The real estate is kind of on a par, but depending on where you buy, you can get a lot more for your money here than in the States.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, it is a little cheaper overall across the board. Monthly expenses, let's see, my electric bill is a lot higher than it was in the States. My insurance is lower, much lower on home insurance. Medical insurance
And property.
is up there, but in the US, you pay a little bit here and a little bit there. You have Medicare, you got this, you got the supplementals, you got the copays. So if you add all of those up, it's still more in the States.
Yep.
So,
very good. All right, thank you. Any big surprises, things that might be more expensive here than you're expecting or we're used to, apart from the gas?
I think
Electric was
I think
more than we thought.
the takeaway from seeing the videos and the advice and how wonderful Portugal is, how inexpensive it is, that the overall it's not that much cheaper. I mean, when you really add up all of the little things, you're probably on a par, but it's a lot of highs and lows. So it's a rockier wave or seascape, if you will, from item to item.
Okay, that's interesting.
Well,
Anyone should be able from the US to come to Portugal and have a very reasonable lifestyle, but you may not be able to live in downtown Lisbon or Tomar or someplace that you really want to be. You may have to move out into the country a little bit.
more.
Okay.
I will say too, when Mills was saying, restaurants, a lot of it depends because you can find very affordable restaurants. We can go fabulous toast de meat in Orang with oregano on it that for $3.65 feeds the two of us, and then we get a coffee, so that's inexpensive. But there's times we go to Tamar and we go and have seafood when we go for the Friday expat meetups, and we might eat at a restaurant that might be equivalent to the US. So a lot of it depends on what you have, what you eat, and but there's choices. But the groceries, I think, are considerably less than they were in the US, even with certain things added,
And
And they might have gone up a little bit in the last couple of years as well, to be fair.
not compared to the US that we experienced,
and
I
the
would
food
say.
quality in your groceries is much higher
Better.
than in the US. The US, they have all kinds of chemicals and sprays they use on virtually everything. Not so in Europe. And someone was telling me the other day that Portugal has the lowest percentage or lowest amount of highly processed foods.
Yes, I saw a similar meme or stat. Thank you very much, Mills and Gail, there on that. Let's go to Thea on the same question: cost of living, surprises, the winners and the losers when it comes to buying things here in Portugal.
Okay, so we rent in an apartment building and we pay 1,500 euros. Now, when we did our rental agreement was last year, September. So the currency exchange was much better than it is now. now, because if you're trying to transfer money from the US to here and convert it, that can be challenging right now, the way, the exchange rate is. But we live in Lisbon. It's not far from the airport. It's not right in the city, but it's a residential area. So it isn't that expensive for us, but for some of, Portuguese, it is more expensive area. But we're really happy here. It's flat, and that's what I need. I can't handle, too many hills. And it's convenient. Even when we take Uber a lot. We went to Stubble the other day and we took the bus. And that was the first time we took public transportation. Everything we find is so much cheaper. And we cut our expenses in half here because everything is so much more expensive in the US. And that was my goal, is to cut all of our expenses in half. Once we sell our condo in the US, then, we'll have a little bit more freedom to, save more money. But at least right now, I can say with medications, we've been going for multiple types of appointments and getting medications. And for a 3-month supply, and I was going to the VA hospital, which was pretty reasonable, but the same medication, I would get a 6-month supply versus a 3-month supply for less here in
Wow.
Portugal. So, and the co-pays, are really reasonable. The one surprise, we never had to pay for water, even when we were renting in the US or having living in a condo, the water's included in your homeowners association. Here, you pay for
Yeah.
water,
Yeah.
even though you're renting. But the gas, electric, water, now, and with the summertime, it did go up a little, but it was like less than 65 euros for, all of that. And the internet, that isn't bad. Sometimes we have problems with the Mio, it'll go out on us, but then we wound up going to Mio, and for an extra 3 euros a month, we have a Wi-Fi booster, which that's helped a lot. At least Mio, isn't constantly going out.
Well,
So,
thankfully not tonight. Did I hear you say correctly then your costs are half of what they were in the States? Is that what you said?
yes.
Okay, that's good to know. A very interesting sort of rounded comparison there. Thank you for the time being. Very good. We have housing and location to come to, bureaucracy and legal, as well as healthcare and daily life. We have spoken a little bit about those, but we will return to those. Let's go now to Debbie on this matter of the cost of living.
Yes,
You
I
said a little bit
mentioned
about it before, didn't you?
Yeah, I did mention a little bit before, but and I could actually rent a less expensive apartment, but after living in a caravan for a decade, I'm loving this gigantic apartment. And
Yes.
it costs the same as renting a driveway. So far as my utilities, electric, gas, and water seems to be about the same as the US. My grocery bill is about the same, but in the US, I was a heavy user of buy one, get ones and coupons. And so they kind of don't have that here. So I think the food is less expensive overall, but I'm, and then so far as this just blew me away. So, I've been on the internet literally since the 80s professionally. So I'm used to paying a lot of money for internet, and then cell phone. I'm used to paying a lot for cell phone. So with Mayo, I've got cable TV, which I really don't watch, but you have to take it with the package. Cable TV, I've got my cell phone, my internet, which is faster than anything I ever had anywhere in the US, that I've lived all over the US, and a home phone, which I also don't use. And it's 55 euros a month for all that. I mean, I used to pay more than that for the cell phone or the internet. So that's really great. So health insurance is really cheap. And I'm like well over the age where the only thing I can have is MGen. And it's still cheaper than, the Medicare, with the Medicare supplement I had in the US. Now, just as a side note, I'm keeping Medicare Advantage just for another year or two to make sure I'm really going to be here. But I can't imagine going back. Let's see, what else? Like getting my hair done. So I've got a fabulous hairdresser. Okay, she used to be an instructor in London, but she is Portuguese. And so I get cut, color, style, really good job for 60 euros. I mean, in the States, that's like $260.
Is it really?
Right?
My goodness. Right.
I'm like, unbelievable. Plus, she has become a friend, another one of those like nice Portuguese
Yeah.
Let's see, what did I forget here? I
That's
think
amazing.
I covered all of my expenses.
We're coming back to you. We're coming back to you anyway. Thanks, Debbie, on that. Susie and Rob. Is Rob going to be put on the spot again? Rob.
Well, I'll go with the surprise, and it really shouldn't be a surprise, and it's already been mentioned. We did factor this in a little kind of pessimistically in our budget coming here, and that's the conversion factor coming from US dollars to euros. And when we were looking, investigating Portugal and Europe in general, but Portugal more specifically, it was near parity and life was sweet and the future was great. And then, things happen and now we're taking a 10, 15% haircut. Thank you, Sarah. And it does have an impact. It's not
Sure, absolutely.
it's
Absolutely.
not the end game scenario, but it does have an impact. And even though we did anticipate it and did allow, because this is kind of where historically the trend has been,
Yeah.
it still is a reality. Susie's got the inside scoop on the day-to-day cost of living comparison here, so she can go.
Thanks for that. Yeah, it's an important matter, that, Rob, and well played. And then, of course, Sarah does have some help. Susie, go ahead.
So yes, day-to-day expenses. We moved here from San Francisco, California, so one of the most expensive cities to live in the United States. So groceries, dramatic difference in the cost of groceries. We have not found, electric water. We don't have gas, but electric water, we have not found that to be anything even close to what we were paying in San Francisco, not remotely close. And like Debbie said, internet, the combo of internet, TV, we have 2 cell phones and the home phone also, because it all goes together with Nosh, and a boatload of data. And our bill is 88 euros for all of that with 2 phones. Our one phone in the US was over $200.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah. And it was insane. The one thing that I will mention that we did find to be more expensive than we were anticipating, not that it's more expensive than the United States, but just more expensive than we anticipated, was everything having to do with an automobile.
Right.
I found the cost of a used car to be more than I expected.
Yes.
The cost of car insurance to be more than I expected. It's about equivalent to what we would be paying in the US for a comparable vehicle.
Okay.
Of course, fuel is definitely more expensive. Even in California, it's more expensive here than in California.
But it's roughly comparable to California.
Yeah, it's close. Yeah. Car registration was way more than I expected it to be. Car registration, we domiciled back in Texas, where we're originally from, before we moved here. We did move here from San Francisco, but we did a little thing where we re-domiciled back to our home state, which was Texas, because of a million reasons. But anyway, car registration in Texas is about $70 US, and our car registration here is 250 euros. And we do not have a new car. We have a 2018 Mini Cooper.
And by registration, as in the cost of registering it in the first place, or the annual?
The annual, yes,
annual. Okay.
Yes, the IUC.
Yes, what we call the IUC.
In Texas, that's about $70 US.
Really, that's fascinating, isn't it? So there's another surprise there.
Yeah.
To do with motoring as well.
But,
wow.
But definitely, just overall, dramatically less expensive than San Francisco.
And I'll add on to the healthcare. Healthcare, our cost of healthcare is much less here than in the States.
And I know we're going to talk about that later, but yes, dramatically different.
Yes. Okay. Well, housing and healthcare. If you would care to speak of that now, because we've we are in danger of either having a part two or a very long part one. So what I'd like to do is ask you to say what you're going to say on the healthcare thing there, Rob, if I may.
Well, in the US, healthcare costs skyrocket annually,
Yeah.
and there's no end in sight. And the preparing to retire myself, hopefully at the end of this year, Suzi will let me, then the whole situation changes
Yes.
regarding healthcare from the US perspective. And so having access to the SNS, having access to the many of the detailed comparisons have already been voiced, the lower cost of prescriptions, lower copays, all of that. In the States, it was, as we were planning for retirement, it was looking very difficult how we were actually going to be able to do it and manage the cost of healthcare. And frankly, I think a lot of people in the States struggle with that now. So that's it's a key enabler for us to be here and to have the lifestyle that we have now and that we want to continue having.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's a great point, isn't it? And no one knows where that's going to go, do they? It's just, and it sounds like it's a real relief for you to be this side of the water on that particular point.
Yeah.
And we do have private health insurance. We're not just depending on the SNS. We have private health insurance, and even with that expense, there's just no comparison. Our annual cost for both of us, and Rob is 67 and I'm 63, so we're not spring chickens. Our annual cost for health insurance here is what my health insurance cost just for me for a month in California.
Wow. Okay. I have to have another income possibility. You should write a book on how you guys do that. Look so fabulous at the ages you've just disclosed there. There's an income stream in that. So thank you very much for your insight on that. And I've just heard from my producer that yes, a part two would be good. There's a lot of information to talk about, and so I'm gonna put housing, location, healthcare and daily life. Although all of you have in some way addressed that, and I know I haven't included you yet, Sarah, but we'll come to the our wrap up and look at how we might do another special and then get deeper dive into the healthcare and the housing as well. Although, some points have been made about those things tonight, which has been great. So, Sarah, before the final round, what about you then on bureaucracy and cost of living, that sort of thing? The car was your bureaucracy thing, wasn't it? What surprises for you, Sarah?
I'd probably say the same as everybody else, really. But well, Suzi said about the car. I think that's more expensive here than what we could get in the UK, even a second-hand car or deals on leasing or whatever. I think it is slightly more expensive here. For me, that's, I think, more coming from the UK, because I get the impression, listening to all that, obviously your drugs and medicine is very expensive. It's obviously not as bad in the UK, but I find it more expensive here, which I thought is a shock. Everywhere, everything else is much cheaper. Wine, I can buy a decent bottle of wine for €2 or €3, but yet
Sarah, that isn't strictly speaking medicine. Okay.
I was going to say, maybe that's what they're using instead. But like, it just is simple. It's just simple. I mean, it's trivial, but it's like paracetamol, for example. You go to here and you're talking maybe, I don't know, 5, 7, €8 in the you have to get it in the pharmacy.
Yes.
I go in the UK, we can buy these lower class drugs, paracetamol, ibuprofen, Nurofen, decongestion. We can buy them in the supermarket.
Yes, for pennies,
really
right?
cheaply.
Yes.
I can buy a packet of paracetamol for 50 pence.
Yes.
In the supermarket. So the drugs, although everything else is much cheaper, my drug bill when I go to the pharmacy feels astronomical. But that's the only downside. The healthcare is very good. The language isn't a barrier when you go for there. As Debbie said, the accessibility, all of that's very good. But it just surprises me that then, the Portuguese wages are quite low. So, again, a lot of the product, everything is good, that it's lower price. I don't know how they're affording their medicine. That's the only thing I would say.
Very interesting. We're very spoiled, I think, in the UK, aren't we, with the National Health Service, of course, which is partly responsible, I think, for that. So yeah, people coming from, if you look at the suitcases of people from the UK, it'll probably have Marmite, baked beans, and paracetamol in the luggage there. Right, I'm going to stay.
Well,
with
I'm
you,
surprised.
Sarah.
I'm surprised my mother's not been stopped at customs with all the drugs that she brought the last time she came
Only
to visit.
paracetamol. Right. Thank you very much, sir. I'll stay with you, and we'll go to our rapid fire wrap up. That's a little bit of a hint there, everybody. And I don't mean to sound like I'm complaining. Lots of excellent information from all of you on all sorts of aspects of being here, of course, in Portugal. And we will return in a part two to more about bureaucracy, housing, and healthcare. We will do more on that, but. Just finally then tonight, because I want to leave some time for the Expats Portugal premium members to ask you questions after we finish the YouTube recording, which is a good reason to be a member, and you can actually hang out with our guests on a Thursday evening. And of course, we've got the Dream Team session tonight. I think Sarah will still be in her car for that at 9 o'clock this evening, unless there's a quick turnover and you're able to get home there, Sarah. Can you tell us, what's the one thing you tell someone else considering the move? Let's just go for that one question. Actually, no, I'm going to do two for all of you for the whole panel tonight. What would you tell someone else considering the same move as you've made, and would you do it again, knowing what you know now?
I would tell them to do it, and knowing what I know now, I'd have moved sooner.
Okay, all right, fair enough. That's excellent. That's excellent. So I'm reversing to stay with motor vehicles and the talk we had about motor vehicles. I'm reversing back towards Gail Mills, but Suzi and Rob, what's the one thing you tell someone considering the move if they're considering it now? Would you do it again, knowing what you know now?
I think the thing that we would agree that we would tell anyone who's considering making the move is to hire professionals to assist you, like EI, like Daniel Race, to help you along the way. You don't have to do all of this by yourself. There are people that have figured this out a long time ago, and they can make it work. And it's worth every dime that you spend. It may seem expensive at the time, and it may be shocking at the time. It is worth every penny. And would we do it all over again? Absolutely.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Fantastic.
I told our friend Clint, who is out there somewhere on the webinar, Clint is there. I told Clint today, we will die here. Well, I mean, we will live here until we die. How about that?
In a good way. In a good way.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Fantastic. Thank you both so much for that answer. Here, say Andrew and Rayan. And I think I've got it right now, Andrew and Rayan. Great to see you in Caldusha at the weekend. Debbie, you're on the screen. Let's go to you for that then. What would you tell someone else considering the move? And would you do it again, knowing what you know now?
Yes, and somebody just posted, say where we're from. It says right there, Debby in Coimbra. Yes, I would do it again. And in fact, I just got back from Malta. And when first my dog was so excited to be home. And then I walked into the apartment. I was like, oh, I'm so happy to be home.
Yes.
What would I tell people? It's funny. So people like, oh, you're so brave, or I'd be so scared. I'm like, afraid of what? Really? Afraid of what? And I'm not brave. I'm not brave. I just made a move. Other city. I don't get it. So like, don't be afraid. There is one thing to be afraid of, though. I need to tell people this.
What?
You could trip on a sidewalk and break an ankle. I have 5 expat friends who have done that.
Well,
That's
okay. Two things,
Coimbra.
Calçadas, the great leveler, literally, and Coimbra, a hilly town. And this is what Thea was trying to avoid, of course.
Well, I'm disabled and I get around, buses and Ubers and Bolts, I'm disabled. I get around fine. But I'm just, there's only one thing to fear here, and it is breaking an ankle. And so I walk very carefully.
Very good.
Don't be afraid, just come.
Note to Jerry, with the merchandise, we need a very sensible boot to wear to minimize that sort of risk. Thanks, Debbie. That's fantastic. Thea, same question then. What would you tell someone else considering this move? And would you do it again, knowing what you know now?
Definitely would do it, and I would have done it as soon as I retired, because I retired 4 years ago. So I would have done this knowing what I know now earlier. But what I would say is, anyone that's looking to move here, if you've never been to Portugal, at least make a trip here. If you can come for close to a month or at least 3 weeks to really get a sense of Portugal. And if you're looking for whether an apartment, I'm saying an apartment because we're renting. I wanted to come and look at apartments. I didn't want to just go through the IDA list and tell, the relocation people, this is what I want, because one place we looked at, it had a nasty smell of animal, if they didn't, take the animals out and they did their business in the house. So things like that, we came across one apartment like that. So if I didn't come here, Theresa and I didn't come here, we probably would have been, really disappointed if we wound up in a place that, uh-oh, what did we do? So
Yes.
that's why I say, come, get a sense of Portugal. And if you're looking for a place to rent or, place to buy, come and look so you don't have any buyer's remorse.
Superb advice. And I was going to pick up on the fact that you can live in Lisbon in a non-hilly place as well, as you've chosen
Yes.
and found a way of
Yes.
doing it. Thea, thank you so much. Love to Teresa as well, of course. Let's go finally then, in this part of the recording, to Mills and Gail. One thing you tell someone else considering the move, and knowing what you know now, would you do it again?
We would do it again. I think the most stressful part, which we haven't covered, is moving pets. And we moved 4 cats from New Mexico with a 3-day drive during a snowstorm, trying to go west because it was early December. We left late November, and dealing with really the US side for the requirement of having to get your USDA certificate and be landed here within 10 days of when they signed it. And we were just under the wire. And I think that was more stressful than our visa process. Our residency went relatively calmly. And I would agree with Suzi and Rob. It's not inexpensive, but not overly expensive to get help in dealing with this is a big move. All of everything it takes to fold up your life in another country and move here, especially with pets. And we didn't have family, and we've made many more friends, is very stressful. I'm probably still in PTSD until we get through our renewal, because IMA is a big stress. Everything is changing constantly and changed a lot. NHR changed in November when we were coming in December, and we had less than a month to get all of that straightened out. So there's constant changes. So bring your stash of calming medications if you can.
Nicely put.
And Mills, let me finish my sentence here. I think that getting the help to know that what you've come here to do is carried out. They speak Portuguese. They have lawyers to take care of things. Daniel Reich was invaluable in making sure that the house Mills bought for us was legal and legalized a place. And we will be using EI for our renewals because it's not worth missing something.
Yeah. Well,
for this big move.
Okay, so extra care, get the professionals, be careful if you've got pets to move, and it can be stressful, so prepare for that with the bureaucratic
And
shifts.
then you enjoy the really good food, and there's amazing wine, and we found some fantastic wines for 10, 20 bucks a bottle, not counting all the really good deals for well under that.
3 and 4 and 5 euros, absolutely right. And so we'll go to Mills for
Mills
knowing
has
what you know
ours.
now, Mills, would you do it again?
Yes, I do it again in a heartbeat. It's not for the faint of heart because you will be stressed. If you think you're going to come to Portugal and kick back on a chaise longue, it ain't going to happen until you've probably been here for a year and a half, because we haven't even kicked back yet.
If you rent, maybe, but with a house, there's more involved.
But it's worth it. We in the United States have grown up with this kind of egotistical US is the best and everyone else is second rate mentality, which is totally wrong. And if you've traveled around the world, you know that's wrong. And I've lived in Turkey and a bunch of other countries, and I knew it was wrong when I came here and visited and decided that I love this place and I love the people and had to make the move.
And we were not thinking of moving to Portugal. We didn't know anything about it. We had an oh wow experience, and it totally changed our life journey.
Wow. I'm gonna end on that note, on the oh wow experience, which I think in many ways we've all had on the panel. So thanks again. We've got to do a part two, and go into some of those other areas that we only just touched upon and scratched the surface of tonight. But you've been so generous with your time and speaking of your experiences, all of you. Thank you very much, Mills and Gail there. Thank you to Thea and Theresa, of course. Love to Theresa. Debbie and Dazzle. Suzi and Rob and Sarah Davey in her car this evening. So thanks to all of you. We will pause that recording here and we'll go to the Expats Portugal Premium members who are here on the call as well, who can ask you questions of their own. And there are loads of them in the chat. So thanks again. Muito obrigado. And let's go to those questions now.
Looking for a place to call your own, where the sun shines bright and the seeds are sown. Portugal, it's the place to be.